Hello, friends. You've been requesting this for a long time, and after much effort, I've finally found 3 stories that take place during school lockdowns. It was a typical, boring day in calculus. It was Friday during the 7th period, which meant the week was almost over and spring break was finally approaching. I could sense the restlessness in my classmates. We didn't have a test that day, unlike many of my friends in other classes. Our teacher decided to take advantage of the relaxed atmosphere and engage us in a different way. We were playing games on sportsdaily.com when the incident occurred. Our teacher, who is usually very laid back, was overseeing a brand logo quiz when it happened. I vividly remember the moment just after my friend answered a question about Adidas. The dean's voice crackled over the loudspeaker. He sounded panicked and frantic as he instructed all teachers that this was not a drill and to go into lockdown. I felt chills run down my spine and goosebumps cover my arms as our normally relaxed teacher also began to panic. He quickly turned off the lights and ushered us to the back corner of the room. We sat in silence for about 2 minutes, and then the familiar buzzing from a panel in the back of the room stopped, indicating that the school had cut all power. We exchanged worried glances, realizing that the situation was serious. After a few more minutes of waiting, we suddenly heard a man screaming at the top of his lungs coming down the hallway. 2 girls in our class began to cry, which heightened our fear even more. As the screams drew closer to the classroom, a man with a lunatic's voice began banging on the lockers while shouting, "I'll kill all of you." At that moment, fear gripped me. My teacher hushed us as we exchanged terrified glances, seeking reassurance from one another. The banging soon shifted from the lockers to our classroom door, and one of the girls, overwhelmed with fear, screamed. The pounding on the door intensified as a man yelled, "Open up!" 2 girls in our class began to cry openly. It felt like an eternity as he relentlessly pounded on the door, but eventually he moved down the hallway, continuing to scream like a deranged person until his voice faded into the distance. Although it seemed like we waited for half an hour, it was probably only about 10 minutes before the dean came over the loudspeaker. To our surprise, he explained the situation. A mentally unstable individual had entered the building and assaulted the woman at the front desk, forcing her to flee. Screaming erupted in the school, and the staff was unsure if the man was armed. This incident occurred before the school had cameras or could afford proper security, leaving it vulnerable to such threats. The staff conducted a sweep of all hallways and classrooms but could not find him. The dean instructed teachers to resume classes while keeping all doors locked and not allowing students to leave for any reason. The most disturbing part of the incident was that one of the janitors working the night shift discovered the man sleeping in a storage closet at the back of the school. Rumors circulated among my peers that a .44 Magnum was sticking out of his pocket. It seemed the janitor may have accidentally woken him up, perhaps by leaving the closet door open. By the time a police officer arrived, the man had vanished. To this day, my entire class remains unaware of whether the man was ever found. But I like to think he is receiving the help he needs. My school has 2 lunch periods. The first is for all 6th graders and some 7th graders, while the second is for the remaining 7th graders and all 8th graders. The lockdown occurred in early October on an overcast and rainy day. During the first lunch period, I heard 4 loud booms. Initially, I thought it was thunder, but soon the entire lunch crowd erupted in screams. I assumed those kids were just overreacting. Campus security arrived and instructed everyone to go to the multi-purpose room. Students in line for lunch had to throw away their meals and move inside. My friends and I, along with a large group of other students, were curious about what was happening. The multi-purpose room is spacious, and its back wall is made of transparent glass. As we were rushed inside, campus security began covering the glass with curtains, and adults were stationed at every exit. My friend Eric, curious like the rest of US, asked one of the adults what was going on. When he returned, he said, "You know those houses right in front of TMS? There's a mentally unstable man who has barricaded himself in front of his house. He's threatening to commit suicide and harm the police if they try to evict him. He's been watching the kids from outside school in a strange way." Eric also told us that the man is a registered sex offender, which made the situation even more alarming. We ended up stuck in the multi-purpose room for a whole hour, missing 2 class periods. Once the situation was resolved, we were escorted back to our classrooms one by one. Later, I learned that the man lives next to my friend Brandy. She told me about a previous Halloween when she saw him at his window, cut his arm and writing in his own blood, "Don't come here or I'll kill you." At the time, people, including Brandy, thought it was just a Halloween prank. However, after this incident, it became clear that the situation was far more serious. We always knew this man was unstable, and we're relieved he never got close to us. I'm 22 years old, fresh out of college, and I recently landed a job at my old high school as a computer intern in the basement. The basement is quite messy and disorganized, but there's a small office that's surprisingly nice. It has 3 spacious desks, 2 mini fridges, a flat-screen TV mounted on the wall, and best of all, air conditioning, a luxury that students and teachers don't enjoy in the rest of the school. The office also houses all the school servers and various tech equipment. I got this job thanks to 3 of my former computer teachers who genuinely appreciated me. I consider them real friends rather than just authority figures, and their support was instrumental in helping me secure this position. Everything was going well until a few weeks ago. My 2 coworkers, Dave and Gary, were upstairs working on papers while I was having my lunch. During that time, I received a phone call from a woman in the front office informing me that the school was on lockdown due to a potential armed intruder. With no door to the office, just a large opening, and the basement door lacking a working lock, I felt vulnerable. The only thing I could do was turn off the lights in the office and my computer screen. My phone sat on the desk as I texted both Gary and Dave, but they didn't respond. I waited in the dark for about 20 minutes, playing games on my phone, anticipating a call from up front to tell me to resume work. I had no idea what was happening upstairs. I couldn't hear anything from down here, and I wasn't allowed to make any calls until I was informed that the lockdown was over. Suddenly, the noisy basement door creaked open, echoing to the basement and into my office. I sat up, contemplating whether to call out for Gary or Dave. I was eager for any information. Just then, someone came running down the stairs, their footsteps approaching my office. I pushed my chair away and crawled under my desk. Someone entered the office, but didn't turn on the lights. Silence enveloped me, and I can hardly describe the fear I felt. I was terrified that any sudden noise might lead to my demise. Suddenly, my phone dinged with a text message, and I felt my world collapse in that moment, clenching my teeth in fear. The footsteps drew closer, and I finally dove out from under the desk, begging whoever was not to kill me. A man in a red plaid button-up jeans and a reddish-black cap grabbed my arm and pulled me up. "It's okay," he said. "I'm just down here hiding. What's going on up there?" I whispered my question, but he seemed to ignore it and asked if there was an exit down here. I pointed in the direction of the exit, then asked, "Who are you?" After a brief silence, he explained that he had come to pick up his son when a teacher told him to hide. After hearing his explanation, I checked my phone and saw a text from Dave. "Dude, this is crazy. Some guy with a gunshot Mr. Buckley. He's wearing a red shirt and hat. Whatever you do, don't come upstairs." I was about to read that text aloud to the man when I looked up and felt my stomach drop. The man seemed to sense my suspicion, and in a panic, I thought only of escaping upstairs. Just then, a gunshot echoed through the basement, and I heard the bullet ricochet off something metal in the darkness. Thankfully, it missed me, and I made it upstairs. Fortunately, the police were waiting at all exits, including the basement door, and they apprehended the man the moment he opened it. In more good news, our teacher, Mr. Buckley, survived the gunshot. It was later determined that the man and Mr. Buckley had some unresolved conflict, but the details were never revealed. All we knew was that Mr. Buckley had not done anything to warrant such a violent reaction. The sound of that gunshot will forever echo in my mind.